Welcome to our third day of the boot camp. Today, we're just going to go over some setup stuff. Okay. We're going to talk about setup stuff and we're going to talk a little bit about some break even, how we can protect some trades. Okay. How we can protect trades from, and just make sure that the trades we're taking, we're going to get the best opportunity for wins. Okay. The best setups, the best wins. And so, because, as well as any indicator that we have, it's going to give you lots of opportunities, right? We want to make sure that we're filtering those opportunities just a little bit so that we can make sure we get the best win rate possible. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about setups. We're really going to talk about A setups and C setups. We're going to talk about A setups we love, and then we're going to talk about a couple setups we don't. A couple things that we need to be aware of so that we're not getting ourselves into any positions that I gotta get that. I get that Polish translation going. There we go. Okay. And so we want to make sure that we're gonna get the most out of this. Right? Maybe protect against a couple of these that might just run a little bit and then reverse on us. Maybe have and how we want to, manage these stops. Okay. Some of our stop losses, how we might manage some of these trades, et cetera, so that we could just make sure that we're getting a little higher win rate and that we're still moving our account forward. Okay. So let me share my screen. Oh, and I guess we had some questions about the EMAs yesterday, didn't we? Okay, so before we get into the setups, quickly go over the EMAs. Okay, so I know some people are fully brand new. Some people have never traded with us or done any of that stuff. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what you see on these charts. Okay, so we have EMAs. Okay, so our previous indicator and this isn't essentially based off EMAs, but our other indicator that we have that you get access to as well when you join with us is something called Killshot, which my man Derek, if you guys can't see, Mr. Derek Jansen has it in his background. So you can see it as his background. So, and so one thing that's based off of are these short-term movements on EMAs. Okay, so these are EMAs, these lines you see on the charts. Okay, and I know some people here are brand new. EMA stands for exponential moving average. Okay, so each of these lines are based on a different candle moving average, which is right how many candles are in that line. These lines are essentially the price average of a certain number of candles, right? So this red one is called the 20. And we actually don't really need it on Supernova because it actually doesn't really have a part of it. But what we're going to talk about, what is super important, is the 50 and the 238. Okay, so this 50 means that this blue line is the price action of the last 50 candles on the chart. Okay, that's the price of it, which tends to give us, a couple of things. Actually, this line, the 238 is going to be this line on a higher time frame, which we'll go over as well. The 50 is the means. So what we're looking for when we look for these trades, and the reason why we look for that impulsive move and then a break of the 50 is an average. We talk about the chart wanting to come back to the means. And when the chart breaks that means or breaks that average, okay, or breaks that average, then we know that the impulsivity has now moved into potentially a trend in that other direction. That's what happens when we break one of those averages. It's come back to the average, didn't bounce off it, closed it, and now has some potential continuation on the other side of it. Okay. And so that is the important one. Okay. And to be honest, I'm going to the settings. I could probably just turn the 20 off because we don't really need it. Probably doesn't need to be on here. We'll just do that. You don't even need to see it. I'm gonna have to talk about it because it's not part of this one, but it is definitely part of our other indicator, which you'll also see here in a little bit because I'm going to overlay them and show you kind of how they work together as well. Okay, so these two EMAs are super important. This is the 50, right? As it breaks the 50, heading in that direction. The 238, which is my favorite EMA. Anybody here knows I love it as a safety basket. I like to target it. I like to see the chart break it. Is essentially the 50 EMA, this same one on a higher time frame, right? So because I kind of want to know maybe what the 50 is doing on the 5. And so you can see that this price here, 625, we shift over to the 5-minute chart. We'll go look at that blue EMA, right? Where does that blue EMA sit? Right about the same. It's a little bit less here, about 622, 621. So essentially what it's doing is transferring this EMA to the chart I'm on, because I like to trade in the one, and I like to know maybe a little bit. These little dots here. Uh-oh, someone's drawing on my chart. Okay, so I want to know maybe on a little bit of a longer term what that 50 is doing. Okay, so that's just a quick little overview of what those EMAs are. Okay, and we're going to show you why they're important. Okay, Alex R is in the house. That's good to know. Glad you're here. Okay, so let's talk about setups now. Okay, let's talk about the setups. Okay, so the best setup we want, the best setup we're looking for, okay, this is going to be our A plus setup. Okay, is we don't. Okay, we want to be able to, and it's not necessarily this 238. This 238 is going to tell us to protect our trades because of a potential bounce off that 238, which will go on when we talk about getting into a break even. But the best opportunities in our trades are when we can get the stop loss behind a previous support area. And that's not always going to happen, right? You can see this sell, which was a really good sell this morning, right? Your 50 pip stop didn't make it, right? We had lots of, this thing went all the way back to bottom, and this thing just missed 100 pips. But our setups and our A plus, which they're not going to happen very often, but it's when you get the opportunity to put the stop loss behind something, right? So I would like to, and I did this earlier, is I would like to have my stop loss back behind these levels. Obviously, this is super volatile, and if you press the button on there, you never saw drawdown, right? It just literally just went right to profit on this trade, right down to it. Okay, so your A plus setups are when you can get this stop loss, maybe potentially back behind. Okay, I'll show you an A plus setup. This one is one of the good setups, but if you have this setup here, right, look at where your stop loss is. Now, it's not all the way back behind it, but it is back below this 238 and is right at that support level. And as you can see, it came back and touched that support level again and then took off on it. So if we can get that stop, and I'll tell you, it doesn't happen that often, but if you're to have the ability in one of these trades to get your stop loss back behind an EMA or back behind the support, that's your best opportunity. That's your best opportunity in a trade, because you can see things like this, right? Let's just use this as an example, right? This was a bit of a B setup, and B setups are still good. You can see that this stop loss at a 50 pip stop didn't quite make it. But if you had your stop loss behind support, which wasn't really that much further, you actually probably could have saved this trade. I mean, you probably would have got to like a break even. Maybe it took a couple pips, but you would have saved yourself from that loss if your stop would have just kind of started back behind that support. Right? You can see the difference. You pull that here, right? And this chart just wanted to go back to structure and then head back down. And you can see, of course, if you didn't protect it, it was going to be a full loss anyways. And if you didn't protect it and your stop was still back here, it actually would have been bigger, right? So we have to be, that's one of the things we've worked out with that 50 pip stop loss. Okay, is that if it's going to go back to the 50 pip stop loss, it's probably going to go all the way. Now, you would have been okay to work your way out of here, and maybe with that green star, maybe you would have been okay being back at the star, right? And so I'll tell you, when we very first started using this strategy, the having your stop loss, and when Marco was showing it to me for the very first time, his stop loss was back at the star. That's where he had his stop losses. Okay, we've obviously realized that if it's going to go 50, it's probably going to go back to the star, and that could save us some pips on some of these losses. Okay, so that's one of the things that's important. Okay, and the other piece that's important here is we're going to talk about how the 238 works. Okay, we don't want these trades if it's up against the 238. So that means that this one had some room, right? This one actually had some room. This one was pretty close to open, so we probably shouldn't have been in it just because of volatility. But you can see this one had, what did it have back to the 238? About 20 pips or so. So that move back to the 238, you could be like, okay, I'm going to enter this. But when I enter it, I have the opportunity to protect it. That means get my stop loss at break even, or get my stop loss to 10 pips, whatever your break even might look like, or 5, and see if it's going to break that 238, which it does, and then runs away. So this would have been a risk-free trade when it got to the 238 and then broke and ran. Okay, right? A trade like this, right? A trade like this trade, while we couldn't get our stop, we're kind of looking at some of these middle setups, right? Like this one, we couldn't have got our 50 pips back behind the stop. Okay, you can see that that 50 pip would have held, right? And this thing does go and run 60 pips potentially a couple of times, right? Back down to about 65 pips on that move, but you could have protected yourself against this 238 and got pips out of it, right? We want to make sure, because as you can see, the 238, as we keep looking at this thing, it's a bounce level, right? This is hitting this 238 and then bouncing off it. So we want to make sure that we can take our stop loss, drop it into profit, and if it breaks and runs, amazing, it's going to TP. But if it doesn't, we're protected and we're not going to take a loss. Okay? So those are very important setups. Of course, we want to have the VIX in our favor. Okay? So it does not have to retest the 238 with Supernova. No. You want to have the opportunity. You don't want this signal. So the one thing with Supernova, you'll if you can wait for a retest, and that might be a little bit more advanced stuff when we move over to the next kind of trade, or the next to maybe to the next day. But like if it's right on the 238, like say that signal came and it was sitting right, that candle closed right on that 238. It's just not a good entry, right? Because it could literally, you could enter it and it could literally just bounce off that 238, hit your stop, and then confirm it wants to go. So make sure you have at least 20 pips or so to go to that 238 before you're entering a trade, because that's going to give you the ability to, when it goes back to that 238, it'll give you the ability to protect against the bounce. If you don't have that space, you very well could enter, hit that 238, bounce right to your stop loss, and then continue on that direction. That's actually one of the C setups, right? Where you're right against that 238. Can it go to profit? Sure. Are the chances pretty good that it's going to come back and hit your stop loss before it does that? Yes. Okay. So those are the setups you're looking for. And if you can find a setup where you can get behind your support area, that's not a very good trade. I mean, but let's take a look at this one. This is a beauty. Okay. Beautiful setup, right? This is a beautiful A plus setup here, and it was the first one of the day. Okay. First one of the day. Okay. I took it off, Maggie, because it doesn't have anything to do with this strategy. Okay. As you can see, this, I mean, if we got into it at the 50, it would have been great, but you can see this 50 pip TP is pretty much back to support. Now you could get behind it, but then you look at this thing and she's out of here. You know, 100 pips before it pulls back, right? This is a really good setup, right? This is one of those A setups where it's like, okay, it's impulsive. Now, if we could have got into it here, right, we would have been down with our stop loss back behind that star and back behind that support. Obviously, we want to wait for that thing to close so we don't get a wick and then just to pull back down. But this is one of those A plus setups. Okay. This one, I mean, it's very impulsive, but you can see it's not one of those A plus setups. So you might have taken a loss there. As you can see, you have to stretch your stop to, 80 pips or so, 60, 70 pips or so to get back behind it. Okay. No, it does not need to be strong. Yeah, okay. So a couple questions here. It says, is a VIX confirmation only when you get a yellow candle? Yeah, so that's the signal, right? When you get one of those yellow candles, that's your signal. You want to make sure that signal lines up with the VIX. Okay. Stuart, no, it doesn't have to be. It's preferable, right? You want to see that it's impulsively trying to break that EMA, right? You want to see that's impulsively trying to do that. So it's better to see that thing push really quick away, because these ones are coming, like, I guess this happened a little earlier, but these are coming fast, right? You got the star, bam. You're the first three candles, bam. Like, it would have been hard to stay out of this one. That's how fast it moved. Okay. Now, that's kind of, those are some of your different setups where you just want to be patient. You want to be patient to make sure that you're going to get yourself. This is when you're kind of planning ahead of the trade, right? Where you're looking at the signal. You're like, okay, it's about to come down. I got my three candles. And you're going to get a little more comfortable with this thing. You're like, okay, I got my three candles. I need to wait for it to break the 50. How far is my stop loss going to be? And if you want to test this thing about getting back behind the support areas, you're going to want to drop your stop loss. Okay. My TPs are 100 pips, Lucas. If you want to let it run further, by all means, as you can see, that one ran away. But if you would have moved your stop loss here, right? If you would have moved your stop loss up on, say, something like this, right? This thing came all the way back to almost 50 pips. You would have missed out on 100. You probably would have got 50 or 60 instead of taking a full 100 pip TP, right? That's just 100 pip TP's money. Look at this one. This one missed your 100 pip TP by 3 pips. Probably pretty good place to close it. Okay. So those are your really good setups. Okay. We're looking for those setups. The VIX, the signal, and then we want to make sure that we got some space. Right? You want to make sure that there's not something right in the way. This is something we learned with our other scanner. Okay. This is something we learned with our other scanner that we want to make sure, because it's very quick and very impulsive, that we want to make sure we have enough space to get what we need out of the market. Okay. So the next setup I'm going to show you is, and a whole bunch of you guys don't have this scanner. Okay. A whole bunch of you guys do. Okay. Because a bunch of you guys are already in my organization. Okay. You could, John, but you're probably going to get wicked out because these aren't impulsive. So 30 pip stop. If you want to, yeah. If you could get closer and you can be behind that structure, sure. Because if it breaks the structure, you're probably going to get close to 50. If anybody doesn't understand what John's saying, he's saying, if I get into a trade and my stop loss is only 30 pips back to structure, can I do 30 pips instead of having 50 all the way up here? Sure. Back to structure. Yep. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to close some of these things down. And some of you guys have not seen this indicator because you're brand new. But this is the original. This is where this strategy was made from. Okay, it's something called Killshot. And they actually overlay each other very well. Okay, because they're one's literally derived from the other. So Supernova is literally derived from Killshot. Killshot was the original. We used it a certain way on trend, scalping, all those things. And then we developed this strategy to go counter sort of what that strategy does, right? So it's kind of giving you the opposites. But if you do like to take counter trend trades or maybe not pay attention to trend, the best, I will tell you, I'm going to put Killshot up on this chart so don't anybody get too overwhelmed by anything that's going on here. Okay. But the best trades, okay, are when these things happen and they move into a Killshot signal. And we should have got one here. But when they Killshot signal and those signals are together. Okay. We've kind of come up with a term of it called superstar, but those things, when they move into each other, right? When these are telling you different things, and this is only the people who have access to it, and you guys will see it when you come, right? When you come in and you join what we're doing, there's going to be some extra pips in it, right? You're going to talk about taking the kill shot signals that are with this, right? You can see, let's just use this as an example. Okay. Well, you can see right here, right? The sell comes, bounces around a little bit, right into the sell signal. There was a green star, so we should have protected it, right? But this would have been a little bit of indication that this thing wanted to keep going down. So maybe you were just at break even and you were trying to give it some space. But let's say something like this buy. This buy went up into this buy signal. It did run, 30, 40 pips. Probably should have protected it up here to make sure we didn't get wicked out. But 43, this actually would have survived here. Even this would have survived even this rejection and then would have headed back up. So these kill shot signals that are in line with what Supernova is telling you, with Supernova giving you these impulsive moves, is an extra confirmation. Okay. Okay. Is an extra confirmation. If the EMAs are flat, who cares? If this thing's already telling me that it's a buy and this buy comes, then I'm getting into the signal. I guess you can see there was 20, 30 pips on this one, and there was literally, right, you're talking almost 100 pips on the next one, right? Staying in with this buy, right? You can see that this sell didn't actually get to a sell signal, right? So it didn't get in. This thing actually broke. There really should have been a signal here, but you can see we got a little doge candle, which doesn't count in R3, right on that 50. Right? So you would have already been in a kill shot signal. This would have confirmed, hey, I still want to go this way. And then, of course, if you're using kill shot, you got all these trend indicators as well, right? So when these things play with each other or show you, right? This one's right in the middle open, so we didn't want to have a piece of this, but you can see you got into this sell, right? You got into it, it rolled all the way down here. You're like, okay, here comes a kill shot signal. And from that kill shot signal, right, you got like another 40 pips out of it, right? Moving into this. Okay, so we kind of made up a little bit of a term for that. So anybody who's using them both, and I know that there's a whole bunch of people here who aren't, anybody who's using them both, we call them superstars. Okay, so and that's just we're having fun with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Killshot off now. That was all for the Killshot people. Anybody who does join our team and come to our organization will get both of these scanners. And both of these have rules and parameters to help you win. Okay. One of them is very on trend and one of them is very counter. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to show you is when to protect a trade. Okay. When I say protect a trade, I mean taking your stop loss, putting your stop loss into break even, and removing your risk. Anybody who trades with me knows risk free is my favorite way to trade. And I'll take 5, 10, 20 pips over and over again until I get a nice runner. And I'll go risk free 1,000 trades in a row because that's who I am and that's how I want to trade. I'll just take what the market gives me over and over again, whether it's 5, 10, 50, 200, it doesn't matter. It all adds up. Okay. So, and that's my scalping mentality. Lots of people are holding these things. And if you hold the 50, 100, this strategy will pay you off. I'm still kind of reteaching myself to be able to do that, to be honest. Okay. So I got a little something that's doing it for me because sometimes I get a little antsy in the pantsy. Okay. So let's talk about how we protect our trades. Okay. We need to protect our trades because we're entering at stars, right? We need to protect our trades against them. I got Killshot up and not Supernova. I'm just so used to Killshot. All right, there we go. Okay. Maybe I'll show you guys the right scanner. That'll make life easier, right? Okay. So, what we want to do because we're entering with stars, right? Because we're using this star as an entry, we want to make sure that we're not getting caught because this should essentially be an exit, right? If we're entering at this star, when this star pops, it's kind of like, hey, man, maybe I should get out of this. But we also know, and anybody who's used this strategy for a while, as these stars will reprint and they can be chased and they can run. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we're taking the risk out of a trade when one of those opposite stars populates. So if you're taking this sell, right, this green star, no, it didn't populate till it broke here. Once it broke there, it would have populated. Once it populated here, you jammed you take your stop loss and you get in behind it. Okay, that's going to give you the most amount of pips out of these trades instead of going to break even here. This green star comes back quickly at a break even, you get nothing, right? So we want to protect against those stars, right? This star, no, we would have held this thing because it probably wouldn't have popped till it got up here, right? This star wouldn't have popped till it got close to that star. So if you took this by, which you can see, it would have made you pucker up, right? With your 50 pips. If you held it, and obviously this thing went to almost 60, and you probably should have been making sure you got 50 out of it. But this thing would have made you pucker, depending on what your spread was. Maybe that thing wicked you out. But if you waited and you were patient enough, that'd have been a bit of a test. If you waited and you were patient enough till that star popped, you would have got all of this. Right? You would have got all of this up here. Right? The whole 100 pip TP. Right? Okay. So what we want to do is we want to protect against the other stars, right? In this one, if we stayed in this and we had our stop loss back behind the support, once this green star popped here, we could have jammed in behind it. We actually probably could have got a break even out of that. Okay. Instead of taking a big loss. So on that middle cell, we move to break to B, then protected to 238, 1000%. Go and once your star probably didn't populate till down here. So you're probably okay. You get in behind it, protect it, broke that 238, get right behind it. Right? We're protecting against these reversals because one thing you guys are going to see is that these trades can be very counter, and that's really what they are. A guy like me doesn't like to trade counter all that much. That's what these things are going to provide you. It's counter trend trades. And for me, if they're counter trend, I'm just going to take what a counter trend gives me. I got to get even me, I got to get a little more comfortable with this thing to allow some of these trades to hit some full TPs and those types of things. But even trading it the way I am, okay? To be clear, Lucas, okay? Sniper Vision is the cheap knockoff version of Killshot. Killshot was the original, okay? Killshot was the original. Sniper Vision, they butchered it, made it half-ass and only work on a few pairs. And then I've added all these things to it. I've added, the trading clock and all these other things we've added to it to keep Killshot the best it can be. We got signals going in Telegram. We got all those things, right? We got Telegram signals, just like you're getting for Supernova. We have all that for Killshot, which we get a good chunk of people here who want to come and just trade on Supernova. We'll probably add gold, NAS, and Bitcoin signals to Supernova as well. That'll just come in Telegram chats. Okay, so all those things cost me money, so I want to make sure that enough people are killing it. Yeah, of course you want your 30. Get out of here. Okay. All right. So those are the things I want you guys to sort of put into practice. Okay. Help us maybe take 1 or 2 losses out of the equation, right? Instead of taking a 50 pip loss on this thing, you probably did because you probably jumped in and it probably got you here instead of being back behind the support. But if you didn't, this would have been a place where you could jam and you would have taken a little bit of break even. Okay. So we're protecting the pips as they come. Okay. So what I'm going to do here for about 5 minutes is I'm going to open it up to some questions. And then we might take a trade. Okay. Hit me with some questions. Yeah, who's got them? Let's get out of here with JPN. Yeah. I tell you what. I tell you, if you come and rock and roll this thing here and you have a little group, I'll add it for you. No problem. Do you have backtesting data? And do you have group testing new formations and patterns? Of course. Get out of here. Thomas showed up with CHF pairs. Those pairs are dead to me, and you know it. Get out of here with that. You'll never see a CHF pair around here. You know that. And yes, Jesse, we have multiple tests on how we use the BEs, how we use the A+ setups, how we manage stop losses and all those other things. It's just that's all we do. I have a little group of there's 9 of us in there. That's all we do is test different parameters so we can know what's happening in different assets. Okay. CHF, this guy. All right. Anybody else? Any questions for Jay? Before I tell you guys, I think we should buy this thing. What do we got up here? 730. Back in. Oh, that is just not a good signal. So one thing I'm going to talk, let's talk a little bit about that. You guys might see these things. Okay. Is sometimes when it's super impulsive, right? You can see, well, that's not right. Oh, must be considered a doge. Otherwise, the buy would have actually printed itself right there. But you can see it broke through here, and they must have considered that a doge candle because it actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a big wick. And then it pulled back below the 50 and then crossed it again, and that's when that signal came. So it's not the best signal. Okay. There's a whole bunch of things we can talk about GFU, but we'll talk about that on Friday. Okay. We'll stick with the trading stuff right now. Then we'll talk about GFU, all the things that you can get, all the things we do, all the stuff, automation. We got everything. Anything you need for trading, we'll talk about all that on Friday. Okay. How many Supernova positions you advise to take a day? However many it takes to get to 100 pips. This thing is pretty good at giving you 100 pips a day, depending on what your risk is. Like if you're using a 2% risk per trade, I mean, 50 pips is 2%. That's a monster day for you to just take and put in the bank. So depending on what your risk reward is, if you're doing 1 to 2% in return, take it and go, right? Take that 1 to 2%, come back the next day, look for it again. Because this scanner will give you that fairly easy, right? With a couple of positions, okay? When backtesting, is there a way to know if the VIX was red or green? You need to backtest in replay mode. Okay, so when you backtest, don't just scroll back. Okay, you gotta get in replay mode. So just go up if you know how to use replay mode. You just go up here and replay, and then wherever you go to, it should show you what the VIX was at that time. I don't know how far the VIX will go back as that indicator. We haven't tested that. We've really been testing this thing forward, so using it, moving it forward, and taking trades, and seeing what it does. So, we test it in replay mode and see if it does. Okay. If you miss the signal, then price retest, can you jump in again at the same price level? Sure. Or you can get in it earlier if once you start to trust this thing, or you get into it a little bit earlier and then you even get a better position. Right? No, you do not. The three candles must happen. So Alan says if the third candle is above the 50, do you still get the signal? No, you don't. It's broken that 50 before you got that impulsive move. Okay. So just to make it clear, instead of letting it run to 65 before protecting, you actually advise to set the stop loss at BE. No, I don't. I'm telling you to set your stop loss at BE when a star of the opposite color prints. Otherwise, give your trade some space. Okay? Otherwise, give your trade some space. That's why we have 50 and 100. Okay? Make sure your risk is dialed in so that you can give that space without hitting it a bunch of times and be stressed out. Okay? But allow it to do that. Okay? Oh, who wants to buy? Should we do it? All right, one more pullback. Let's rock. Let me get my T4. Just talked about this. Saying, don't you run away on us. Okay. I just talked about this, why this happened like this. Because the three candles happened, broke the 50, then pulled back below it, and then broke it again. All right, let's be patient for this. Let's see if this thing wants to come back to us. It's already in a buy. Everybody hold on to your butts here. It's already in. You've had 1, 2 of these and a buy there. Just give me a pullback now. Pick me up. Pick me up. Let's go for a run. Yes, Scott. Get it. Okay. I'll just put this just to make my life easier so I don't have to bug you guys with Killshot. Just put that back. I don't know. Yeah, red star. So just be careful. If you got into it, protect it. Okay. Trading times do matter. So we have to move that over here. Pay attention to the Telegram signals because the Telegram signals aren't going to come if they're not in good volume. Okay. So we'll get that. I have to get it fixed because it's not populating properly on the other one. It's got a weird because we had a time change, right, this weekend. So I got to get that fixed and then I'll get it added to this. Okay. Okay, red star printed. So we don't want to just go jump into this thing. If you were in this, man, that already protect against that red star. Maybe just even be a break even. Man, what do you want to do the rest of the day? Let's see. Let's see if DXY is playing ball with us here. It is not. So anybody here has ever traded with me, and there's a whole whack of people on here who've traded with me before. The EMA is the 20. I just put it on there so that I could see the signal down. These are all sitting on each other. This is about to pop out of here though. Red star, we need to be a little bit careful of. Somebody's already in this thing via BE because it's about to come back to you. Get together and bring it back to me. What you want to do here? See if it'll give us a nice pullback. Come on, man. Are you serious? Shit. All right. So my friend Mladen has been with me for a while. Says that Jur 30 has given 500 pip positions today. Why don't we go take a look at that? 5 of them. Come on, man. Oh, do check London, he says. Well, there's a buy. Head back to the top. That one would have been. Shoo. Well, that wasn't. Oh my dear. My Atlanta. What is happening on this chart? There is no issue. All you need to do is right click on the screen and do auto. All you have to do is do auto fits and scale price chart only. There is no issue with it collapsing. You just don't have your chart set up correctly. What is go? Okay, so we haven't been testing this in London yet, but this is crazy. What is this? All right, so let's go take a look at what London did. Look at these moves. We're gonna have to, yeah. Oh, but just look at this. Okay, let's just go on some positions here. Here's your short. There's a sell in here. Well, that is an A plus, hey? Get much better than that. I mean, it's a little bit high. There's 100. You just need one of these to make things change. Look at this. Long position. Breaks here. Whoo-wee. And this thing ran, I mean, look at this. Look at these trades. This one ran 300. This one ran 300. What are we talking about here? This is nuts. All right, Jur 30. I guess I better get you some signals on Jur 30, huh? Another buy. Long position, another buy, 100 pips. Wow. That is something special. Something special. Auto does work for you. It has to. You have to do auto and scale price chart only. Both of those will work for you. Yeah, I mean, the election, here's the thing. The elections didn't really have any impact on Jur 30. The German US 30. US 30 itself, that is some craziness. This actually reacted to the dollar today because the election had a big old impact on the dollar, but I mean, look at these trades. Even into no trading time. It is crazy. Another short position here. Another 100. This is monstrous. What a monster day this is. Are you showing up late? Because I just went through all the EMAs at the beginning. Okay, the buy, the sells. Look at this stuff, man. This is something else. Buy was right here. This one would have been a tough hold because your stop loss would have been so far, but it was below the 238. This thing had, that was your smallest one, only had 40. Goes into a sell. I mean, we can add this up, but holy man, if you're using 100 pip TP on Jur 30 here, what in the name of, look at this thing. And then back to a sell. Holy moly. Another TP. Gee. Okay, so just coming out of London, and we probably wouldn't have taken this one here. Not in good trading time, these ones, but these ones were. You would have had you would have had 100 coming out of Asia, right? We get about 20, 2100 is when London starts. 100, 200, 300, 400. And you jam here, you did got 10, 410, another 100, 510, another 100, 610. What the dear? 610 pips on one day in chart. Wow. 5,550s, 50 pips booked on signals in good trading time. So I'll tell you something about this scam before we go. Okay. So, I mean, does it work on it's done for the month, Scott? 550 pip month. If you're using 2%, if you're using a 2% risk, say you're using a 1% risk at 50 pips. Do the math, man. That's an 11%. It's 11% today on a 1%. Use a 2%, use 22%. Don't you worry, Landon. Landon, come on, man. You know who you're talking to over here? Do you know? Come on, man. Sheesh. All right. So it works on Jur 30. Okay. Oh, man. That is something else. Okay. Well, let's go back to US 30 and see if we got a trade. Really got distracted with Jur. All right, here we go. There's that red star we would have protected against. Wicked us out probably at BE. Where would our stop loss? Look at these EMAs just hanging on each other. Where would our stop loss be? Back down here by this 238. Oh, a little bit of some pips up there. Yes, you can set alerts for the scanner. Yep. You're going to get a Telegram. When you join with us, you get a Telegram channel. So you don't even have to do the setup on here if you don't want to. You'll get a Telegram channel that'll just, you can just unmute it and it'll send you the signals. Okay. All right. So I think we should buy this thing. Let's just find a good opportunity to join it. Came back to here, bounced, wicked above 1247, huh? Nope, I don't like that. The XY is pushing up, so we might get a little sell off here to close the day. But we'll see. Heavy up. We don't like that very much. 80, 50 pips would be back behind that support level. Oh boy. Hard to trade against this, you know? Hard to trade against that. And especially because it's doing this. Where's the green star? I don't have a green star from all the way over here. Well, this looks like it's a loss. Go ahead. Let's go see what gold's doing. Maybe we can find something here. No, that's a consolidation too. Well, I still think this wants to go up. Look at that. That's a little bit of an impulsive candle. When did that happen? Sheesh. Holding the space. Yeah. It's just battling the dollar right now. Gold had some nice moves today too. Buy, sell, a couple of short ones. So, and then you'll see that. Then you'll go see this. Oh, you'll buy right in the middle of it. But look at this. So, okay. So, what I would look for, like I'd like to get us into a position here before we go. But would have liked to seen a green star right there. But we are in buy. EMAs sitting on each other. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. Too much risk of this dropping back to this 238 first, which would take your 50 pip TP, but it does look like it wants to kind of hold here and pull in some volume so it can push its way back up. But we have been getting some pretty severe sell-offs, and this is some pretty heavy volatility coming from the election and pushing this thing up. So yeah. Red star. You can get 3 candles in a row holding this space. So I don't want to trade against this signal, but I would actually be looking down at this point. I actually think NAS is probably going to do okay, actually. And it pushes back to the top. See if it rejects that top and starts to come back down. Breaks those EMAs. We should come back down. You can see this space. Very, very heavy uptrend, though. Be hard to trade against this uptrend, although you'll probably get some pips out of that sell. All right, so let's do this. If you guys are trading 1250, huh? What would that look like? I think if it re-breaks here, we can have a nice little run. Might be some pips in this back to there. Let's see if this breaks. I know that's not going to break that bottom. You can see our stop. We get a nice little 2-to-1 there. Probably come pretty quickly. We already got our sell, so we'd be on that. We got a little lower high here. We'll see if this wants to continue some structure. Okay. All right, let's see what that does. And I think you're going to get the same kind of movement over here. US 30's already started it. Bum, 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 bum. Oh. This looks like it wants to drop back down here. This could be a very nice opportunity for this to come back down and bounce off of this. It's about 40 pips to go. All right. What's going on here? Right at that bounce level. I would like to take this downwards. We're going to get a sell off here. I would like to have seen this thing give us a little signal back. Okay. We're going to get a sell off here. Oh, man, Lucas. Love it, buddy. Yeah, I think we're going down. I think we might be too late with this thing, though. Son of a gun. I want to jump into it there. Naz is coming. Naz is trying to break that. Breaks that 50. We should be good to go back down there. Okay. We got a Jur 30 move. He's saying, make sure it breaks that 50 before you jump into it on Naz. Okay. Jur 30 says it's selling. Oh, and it's a supernova. Oh, that's nice. Bunch of structure. Look at that push out of here, though. Last couple hours. I guess there's lots to go. All right. You already in that thing, lad? Ah, we're too late. Let's see if we get a little pull back here. Sucker's already running on us. Lad's just taking everything. Nothing's getting past him. Yeah. Do. 25 pips should be right about that level. When it gets to this level, protect against it. Because if it breaks here, then it's got all this to fill. Dollars pushing up. This should be a nice run. So when it gets to this level, protect it. Just go in there and get that jam on. Okay. Naz. Gonna activate here. Okay. I do have to go. Sheesh. I can't manage you guys through this one. Okay. I think this breaks and starts to head down. We'll see if it does. If it breaks this and then breaks that level, it's going to make a run. So just be careful and be patient. Make sure it wants to break that 50 and hold the other side of it. I think it's going to come quick. And we usually a pretty good opportunity on a day like this, get a nice little sell off to close. Okay. Yes, sir. Oh, these are all going down. Okay. Should have given us a little better signal, a little bounce here, see if this breaks. But it does want to get to that 238. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff on Friday, but everything you get when you come here with us. Telegram signals, we got opportunity for tap to trade. The signals we share in our chats, the live trading sessions, all the stuff. Okay. So I got a little position here. I think we need to see this break to 50 and hold the other side of it, then it should run. Okay. US 30 holding this space. Bounced off here, held this space. I do think it still wants to make its way down. And there it goes. Okay. I think it should come back, at least touch this 238 and then make a decision from there. Okay. To see now break and continue. I don't like it holding this level. Get down there. Let's go. Okay. And then let's go see what Jur's doing. Right back. It's almost back to that level. See if this candle comes down here. And then you can get in behind it. And then you're risk free to finish out the day. Oh, it did just switch too, didn't it? Oh, stay down there, you little. All right, so we want to see this dollar continue to push. I don't like this. I want to see this thing push back. Nice blue candle pushing up, which will keep forcing these charts down. Okay. I want to see this hold and bounce. And if it bounces up, it'll keep pushing these charts down, which will be good for Madden, who's in that Jur 30. There is nope. There isn't yet. but there will be, especially if people are going to win like that on it. There you go. Nice little push on DXY. Get this thing to drop. I don't like these candles holding. Your 30 skid, NAS is holding this space. So it hasn't quite confirmed yet. It's holding this level. It hasn't broken and held the other side of that. 50. I guess it did come down there. So maybe we're in this thing. Okay. I think you're going to be okay here. And I think you got to protect this Jur 30, but I think you'll get a nice run. If it can break the bottom of that, a whole bunch of pips in it. All right. I can see that you're already up 10 or so. So just watch this star. If it takes a star, get in behind it, let her go. Lad. Okay. All right, guys. I gotta let you go because I got another call here in 3 minutes. But thank you for today in the boot camp. I hope you guys got some more value.